I'm gonna be honest, I didn't give a shit about the Ioniq 5 minutes ago. It was awkward to look at, still is. Lugged around a giant heavy battery, still does. And above all, lacked personality, as all EVs do. Did? So how does it feel to take a vehicle that's based on the Kia EV6 and try to recreate or create a new N experience for the next generation Hyundai EVs? Well, as you can hear, it's simulating an 8-speed dual clutch from the Elantra N. Same gearing, same kind of engine brake feel when you come off the throttle. I can bang off the rev limiter, and there's a little bit of a torque kick when I shift gears. It is hilarious. That's the only word I can think of to describe it. It's so funny. It's a funny concept. I'm amazed it took this long for anybody to implement some kind of engineering like this into an EV. Is this what EVs needed? I don't know, but let's go over some of the details. First off, I'm sitting in a familiar seat. This seat is the same as in the Veloster N, which is of course a dead car. They don't make that car anymore, so they brought the seat over here. Awesome seat, great bolsters. I will say though, I can raise and lower it, but it just raises and lowers the back. So if you want to get real low, which I do because I still feel like a little bit of that SUV seating position here. If I want to get really low, there's still a little bit of a tilt at the top where my knees are. So not the greatest seating position, but they're doing the best that they can with this platform. And that story kind of continues with the rest of the car as we go along, right? 641 horsepower, big kick there. And some crackles on the overrun. That's actually pretty convincing. Those crackles sound exactly how they sounded in the Veloster N. Very, very tuned in and kind of artificial, just like in the Veloster N. Yeah, not only that, here, let's go down to 7th gear, 1400 RPM, foot to the floor. It barely moves. Where's the rod knock? Hey Hyundai, N, you forgot the simulated rod knock. Where is it? Yeah, 641 horsepower. If we hit this button on the right, this big orange button, NGB, N Grin Boost, it's ready. It's gonna make me sick. So much power, 568 pound-feet of torque. If we're using that N Grin Boost, if not, 545 pound-feet of torque. It's about time somebody began to innovate in this largely soulless EV landscape. AMG hasn't done it, M hasn't done it, so who is next? Well, N, obviously, quite literally. It is crazy when I look back at the last 10 years, 9 specifically for the N brand, how far they've come. I used to make fun of Hyundai 10 years ago with the Genesis Coupe. Look at them now. Now I'm really excited about this car. So are they able to take that N kind of formula from the Veloster N, a car I thoroughly love to drive, and translate that into a fun experience in a larger EV, okay? So the differences between the standard Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 5N, well, first off, it's a little bit wider. It's about 2 inches total an overall width, and that's just basically to enable the Ioniq 5N to fit these 275s wide tires all the way around, as well as 21-inch wheels. They're huge. Hyundai is proud that this is their most powerful braking system ever. It's a huge focus on regen braking, and unless you're so deep in the pedal, it's just going to be regen braking that's enabling you to slow down. And then of course, at some point, the 4-piston brakes will catch on. The front end's totally different from the standard car, a lot more aggressive. God, it looks good. Awkward from some angles, I will say, but we do have the orange racing stripe here, and then the racing line down there. I'm gonna call it that. I don't know if they called it that. We've got functional aero in here, some air dams and ducts that open up at speed. Really good upgraded cooling with the N as well. And just the entire bumper has changed here. We still have the iconic, maybe they're not iconic yet, but the pixelated kind of headlights and running lights here. Performance blue matte, awesome color. The whole car sits about 15 millimeters lower than the standard car. It has completely different suspension, which we'll get into in a second. If you look at the roof, you may notice the sunroof's gone, the moonroof's gone. So in addition to the sunroof delete that of course adds a ton of rigidity here, they've gone to extreme lengths under the car that we don't see as well. The subframes have been modified to increase lateral rigidity as well. The steering rack mounts are totally new for the Ioniq 5N, and the steering rack itself is a little bit quicker. So the whole car should feel completely different from the standard car. I like the front a little bit better. I like looking at it a little bit better. We do have an added wing here. Yes, this is functional. I can fit my hand. No, I can't. Cannot fit my hand through there. They've added a rear wiper when compared to the standard car. Again, that orange stripe comes down here, and then a huge diffuser here that extends out a little bit too far from the rear bumper. I'm not sure, but that basically contributes to the overall length of the car being slightly longer. Yeah, these are fake. Nice fake vents here. That doesn't really bother me. It doesn't take itself too seriously, so things like that, I don't really mind. And then pixelated light bar tail lights here. This thing stands out on the road in a sea of boring EVs. And then yeah, our charger's kind of hidden, which I like. Click that button and it's closed. Dampers are different. We got beefier dampers, different spring rates. And of course, adaptive suspension. We got 4 buttons that you need to be concerned about, actually 6 on the steering wheel here. We've got a drive mode selector on the left, and of course we have Eco, Normal, or Sport. You could hear as soon as I went into Eco, the sound goes away, becomes silent again, nice and relaxing like I was this morning. Down at the left puts us into N mode. Traction and stability control are immediately limited, which is awesome. We get a little chime and a warning for that. And then once that is completed, it transforms into a stiffer, more direct, and more animated character. If we don't fancy any fake engine noises, that setting can be turned off, but if we want to press that second N button, its default setting is to activate those synthetic gears and the sounds that come with it. Giant heads-up display. It's got a big horizontal tack there. Really easy to read. The rotation is amazing. Again, we're just on the street here, but it is a little bit bouncy though. Definitely, you can put it in your custom N setting, of course. I set mine to soft suspension and aggressive ELSD, which you can also adjust, and then steering either in Sport or Sport Plus. The steering wheel does hide my settings, actually, my custom settings. I can't see unless I look around my suspension settings or my steering. Full disclosure, I have not driven a standard Ioniq 5, but the adaptive suspension is really good here. It is stiff, too stiff to daily drive? Absolutely not. You've become every Turbo Civic driver on YouTube within a split second. Oh, nice rear rotation. standard all-wheel drive here. So I currently have it in the default setting. It should be generally sending about 50% of the torque to the front and 50% to the rear. We do have N torque distribution, which we can set the torque anywhere from 100% to the front all the way to 100% to the rear. All right, let's do launch control. We do have to go through a few settings to get to a number of these modes, which I will get to just in a second here, but we can hit N mode, swipe to the right, launch control, activate. It has 3 settings, whether we're on a looser surface, tarmac, medium, or high grip. I have it set to medium. This should be high grip, but we'll see how it does. Left foot on the brake, mash the gas, and let it go. Oh yeah. 0 to 60 in 3.1 seconds, quarter mile in 11.3. All right, so to play with the torque distribution, we need to be in N mode. Now we'll go performance options. A bunch of warnings come up, a ton of text. And it's activated. Now how do we adjust it? Now how do we adjust it? See, I need to pull over. This is way too much to do on the fly. I'm getting distracted right now. Okay, let's pull over and figure this out. Okay, let's get started. So if we're at the main menu, this is Hyundai's new infotainment system, by the way. So if we're at the main menu, it works great. We've got wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, everything you would expect. It's simple, yet effective. I love that. Nothing too complicated, no crazy graphics going on. Easy to read, simple to use. We have our EV stuff. We can precondition the battery for charging. Not only that, but we have N mode. So that's where a lot of the menu clicking is going to happen. So we hit N mode. We're greeted with a ton of settings. We have our NE shift mode, which we can activate from this. We have our N active sound. Yeah, which we can switch there. We have N battery conditioning. So this is pretty interesting. It says here optimizes the battery temperature in advance for the driving purposes. And we have 2 settings, drag or track. It also says this may cause noises, vibrations, climate performance degradation, and may reduce the driving range. They're not holding back here. It's very clear. So what we can do then is if we hit track, it will bring up the battery temperature to a suitable temp to where the launch control and just the battery and power will last longer and just be optimal for the situation. So to get the best launches, here it says estimated time to wait is 9 minutes. So to get the best launch control, to hit that 0 to 60 in 3.1, we have to wait a little bit. That's pretty cool. Some pretty nerdy and really tech heavy stuff in here. You need you almost need a course to go through all these menus, to read everything. There's warnings every time you change a setting. There's certain parameters. If you don't have traction control off, you can't activate your N torque distribution, which is right down here. We also have N race mode. That's pretty cool. And that enables us to basically lap circuits in which there are a ton loaded up in here. And of course, as they say here, it will cause frequent use of N race, may reduce battery durability. Very honest. I love that. Sprint or endurance mode, which is pretty cool. So in endurance mode, it actually limits the power by about 10% to just get you the best efficiency, especially when you're on the track. And drift optimizer, that's awesome. So it'll send a ton of torque to the rear, and using that torque vectoring, it will allow and kind of give you a little bit of torque to the rear to initiate drifts. It kind of reminds me of the Ford Focus RS from back in the day, and it will also simulate a clutch kick. Pretty cool. I'm not going to be trying that today. And then a ton of other settings here. But then down here on the right side, performance options. There's another menu. So those are all your settings. But then when we go back to the left here, like we can click those settings on or off from a different section of the menus. It's very strange. I can change settings from multiple different menus. And even if we were to go back to the home and then hit our settings, it would also change these settings for the sound and whatnot in like a third menu. You kind of have to just sit here and set your settings, and then you can kind of fully embrace the car and all its glory. But yeah. As far as the rest of the interior goes, 12.3-inch screens here, both of them. Very visible, awesome. Materials are pretty good here, a lot of eco-friendly and kind of recycled materials. Hyundai's proud of that. And we've got little knee pads here to brace up against when we're out the track. And we have a sliding center console here, a couple cup holders, lots of storage. In the front, rear seat room's great. We got 2 USB down there. Yeah, it's a really comfortable place to be. What you're paying for here is the battery, the performance, the tech, and the all-wheel drive system. What a stupid car. All right, let's send 80% of the torque to the rear. If we're using N torque distribution, I can't shift myself though. I can't use the N shifting. It bites though. It's got a ton of grip, and the rear end wagging its tail a little bit there. Okay. It's not just a setting. It's not just pixels on a screen. It has enough body roll. I can feel the tires, I can feel what it's doing. I can kind of play with it at lower speeds a little bit, but the steering is sharp, so the turn in is confident. It feels really good. The Ioniq 5N is, the base car was a little bit nerdy looking. This brings it all to a full package. It is a nerdy car through and through. And the real question is, will it stand up to the test of time? Will it appeal to the automotive enthusiast long term? Certainly, dynamically, we're doing exceptional with the weight we're given here, about 4,800 pounds, an incredibly heavy EV, and that is the Ioniq 5N's Achilles heel. It is the one thing holding this back from being, a Group B, a futuristic Group B kind of spiritual successor, is the weight and the size. I feel like the Ioniq 5N is about 20% too big, and that comes back to my seating position being a little bit too high. You can toss it around, and it does an amazing job at masking the weight. It truly does. And with the ability to send torque to the rear, you get a little bit of that oversteer, which makes it just inherently more playful. But the reality is, there's a reason why manufacturers like Ford stopped building small cars like the Focus RS and Fiesta ST. You guys stopped buying them. The market has spoken, and what it spat out are heavy, lowered EV crossovers with more torque than that featherweight class ever asked for. Deal with it. It's nice because you're able to modulate torque. It's easy and predictable to know how much torque you're going to be getting when you're coming out of a corner, and it gives the Ioniq 5N, and it could give all EVs, an actual sense of speed when you're driving quickly. The worst thing in an EV is predicting or kind of guessing how quickly you need to be going into a corner to power out when you get past the apex. No EV up until this point had the capability of doing to that. When you're braking hard and a transmission is downshifting and you've driven this road before, hey, I already know this corner coming up is a second gear corner. So audibly, boom, if I'm in fourth, 2 downshifts, now I know I can kind of ease off, tip in, and then power out. All it requires is a little bit of suspension of disbelief. It's like watching a movie, okay? Just allow the Ioniq 5N to suck you into the experience, and you'll have a great time. It truly is a vehicle that you can't take too seriously. It is a ton of fun. The package here is phenomenal. It does almost everything perfectly. All right, you guys. Frank's with me now. Yeah.
What's up, guys? Pretty nice car. I'm beyond impressed with this car, which is weird because it's an EV and I'm not about EVs.
Well, this is the question. Can they convert like the real enthusiasts to the EV stuff?
Well, we'll see. We're about to do a little lunch, and let me tell you, the torque and the horsepower that this battery delivers is like impressive.
Oh, it struggled there a little bit.
3.38.
Okay, that's what they quoted. I think 3.3 is what they say.
That's pretty accurate, dude.
Whoa. Oh, yeah.
That was slower. That was slower.
Slower in N mode. All right.
Yeah.
3.3. I don't think we're going to beat that.
I mean, there's the setting of grip. I feel like if you play with that...
Should we do low grip? Okay.
I think we might get close to like...
Let's try low grip.
3.330 maybe.
Some people have tested and they've hit 3 flat.
Maybe they changed the tire or the wheel size, because wheel size will do a big difference in
Yes.
this car. I believe, I would assume that the OEM wheels are somewhere between 20 and 30 pounds. They're what, 21 inches?
21s, yeah.
So like you put 19s, wider tire, you're laughing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a game changer.
Well, and these 21s affect the range too.
Sure.
So this has a bigger battery than the standard Ioniq 5,
Yeah.
but it gets less range.
Huh.
Because the tires are wider, the wheels are bigger, you know.
The, how do you call it? The rotational force.
Rotational mass, yeah.
This is crazy because we're just like stop and go launching this car.
I know.
But it's almost made for that.
It's fine with it.
Yeah.
It'll take it. It doesn't feel like we're going to break the car at all.
Imagine doing that in like, compare same horsepower, 680 horsepower all-wheel drive Subaru or something like that.
We're on the Coca-Cola. The Coca-Cola has a speed limit of 120 kilometers an hour. So should I roll into 60?
I think you should just go from right now.
Right
your
now?
speed past 60,
Okay.
so it gives you the smallest window.
The window.
So we'll do 60 kilometers to 120 on the Coca-Cola.
It was torque steering there.
Wow, that is impressive. That is impressive.
Wow, 2.58 seconds from 60K to 120 kilometers an hour.
So you're merging on the highway and you're already like in 2.5 seconds up to speed. That is amazing. God damn, that like, took me by the guts.
Oh, whew. Oh, we did it.
Close.
3.36.
Yeah, that's better than the 3.8. Marcus is that guy. So am I. I did it.
Am I
but
that
it's
guy? Yeah.
it's very sick. Oh,
All
thanks,
right.
bro. That was very enjoyable.
Yeah.